What's up, you guys? Martin here, and today I think I'm gonna just do a little bit of ranting. I have a few issues I'm thinking about. So I had a few things on my mind, and most of it has to do with my biological father. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So honestly, I have been doing a lot of thinking today. Thinking, with the holidays coming around, make amends with people. There's certain people I don't know. Okay, so let's start off. I can't even think. So for the holidays, I'm just thinking if I should try to make amends with some people in my life. Try to, get in the holiday spirit and just let bygones be bygones and just let things go. But every time I do that, I tend to get into the same situation with people. Like, some things just never change. And I think I'm just tired of that. I'm tired of hoping things will get better and they just never do. I mean, for the majority of the time, it could be all great days. It could be great. But there's some people, I know people say things out of anger. But my God, I mean, there's just some people that have done and said a lot, and it still hurts my feelings thinking about it. But there are some people that I will never talk to, and one of those people being my father. My dad had made my life and my brother's life and my mom's life a living hell, let's just say. I know I spoke a little bit about that like years ago, a couple years ago on here, and I just want to get a little in depth of it. So he was abusive to my mom, especially. He's just not a good dude. He's just bad. He wouldn't talk to us, call us for our birthdays. He wouldn't help my mom with child support, even though he says he claims it, and if he did, it was probably nothing. I mean, if they did take child support, it was probably by force. He wouldn't just do it. He was into drugs. He was a woman beater to the T. 125, 200% women beater. He beat women. He thought he was man. He thought he was a man. He thought he had the biggest balls for hitting women. But in reality, he was the biggest I have ever known. Two of my younger brothers, they didn't understand what was going on. So when they were little, they would always blame my mom about like, oh, you will never let us see our dad, blah, blah, blah. And my mom was like, your dad is bad. And eventually, my mom just said, you know what? I'll give your dad a chance. Go spend the night with him. You guys can spend the night. You guys can go spend time with your dad. Well, we did, and almost every time we spent the night with him, he was hitting his wife, or hitting his girlfriend, or beating them in front of us, or hitting them in the room where we could hear the pounding and the girl screaming and crying. Like, did he not realize what that would do to us? Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to get into his head and be like, at the time, did you not realize what you were doing? Your kids are here, and in your mind, you just block that out and continue to punch women. And I'm not talking about slapping. He punched them. He threw things at them. He slammed them on the floor, slammed them into walls, the whole deal. For the most part, we kept it from my mom. All three of my brothers, or all of us, me and my two brothers, we kept it from my mom because we knew if we told her what was going on over there, she wouldn't let us go see him. I could care less. I just kind of like went along and begged and nagged my mom into letting us go in for my brothers, because if I was to say no and the other two said yeah, my mom would be like, okay, you guys aren't going, because one of us didn't want to go. It was either all of you go or none of you go. That's how it was, because my mom was very overprotective like that. So for the most part, I just said yes, just for them, for Vincent and Adam. And yeah, so I mean, there was one time with my stepmom, and I say stepmom because he did marry this woman. I'm not gonna say names, but she was pregnant with one of my other brothers, I have a lot of brothers, FYI. No sisters, just a lot of brothers. She was pregnant with one of my brothers, and my dad was drunk, and he was probably on drugs. He was hitting her while she was pregnant, and this is not something new to him. He hit pregnant women too. To think your son or daughter in that woman's stomach is supposed to be protected and supposed to... It pisses me off to think that your son or daughter are in that stomach of a woman, and you're over here punching this woman, making her cry, throwing her against the wall. What is that doing to the baby? So, back to what I was saying. Just, it pisses me off. So, one night, we spent the night at my stepmom's. It was an apartment. Very uncomfortable. It was just really small. I think it was like maybe... Was it a one? It was a 2-bedroom, but it was so small. Okay. They were fighting. We were all ignoring it. Me and my brothers, when we heard them fight, we just continued to play with our toys and pretend like nothing was happening. Like, we just said, oh, like, we were talking loud. And at this point, I was a smartass. Like, I was already a little older, and I was just a smartass, okay? I didn't treat my dad with respect at all. I talked back to him. He slapped me in the head a couple of times when I talked back to him. I don't even think my mom knows that. And I just wasn't afraid of him. Like, if you're gonna hit me, hit me. Like, I can care less. Like, I'm gonna tell you how I feel now. I was tired of keeping quiet. I was tired of hiding my feelings. And if I was a smart-ass son, then I was a smart-ass son. But, so, he was hitting her, and then he leaves, and then she barges in the room, and it's quiet for a few seconds. And then she barges in our room. She opens the door, she's like, you guys, get up, get your shoes on. And then she's like, you know what, forget your shoes, get up, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. He took the car, so either he took the car to go get more drugs, or he took the car to drink, to get more alcohol. But I think what was happening was he was gonna go do something, come back and grab us, all of us, her, me and my brothers, and the older stepbrother, her son. And he was gonna take us in the car and drive somewhere while he was under the influence. And so she was terrified. I wouldn't blame her. So then she gathered us all up. We all ran downstairs. It was upstairs, the apartment. We all ran downstairs, no car, no shoes. And this was no shoes for her or any of us. We were all barefoot. Luckily, there was a park across the street. So imagine, you guys imagine this. Pitch black, cars going back and forth, and you have this mom, pregnant, and she was showing she had a stomach, pregnant, and then it was her son, me, and my 2 brothers. All of us, barefoot, in pajamas, running. We ran across the street, we got into the park. This park was huge. The only way I could describe this park, and it's not like as huge as what I'm about to say, but I used to go to Central Park in New York. I went twice to Central Park. And why I compare these two, the park we were at was not as big as Central Park in New York, but it had those bridges, so like it looked like Central Park to me. It was like a brick bridge, so people could walk on top and then you could walk under. Well, we had to walk under the bridge, and while we were in the park, I guess my father had went to the apartment, because I'm not kidding, you guys could hear this car like speeding all around the park, all around, back and forth and just everywhere. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to talk about it, but just speeding everywhere. And then he got close, like when we ran under a bridge, he got really close, and it was him. We knew it was him because we seen the car, and she said, you guys, that's your dad, just everybody be quiet and just try to stick to the walls. Well, because we were like, the park was, it wasn't huge. So he was speeding around, and at one point we were under the bridge, and he was right above us, you guys. Right above us. He was yelling her name, hella loud, hella drunk, hella on something. Just cussing, yelling his name, and I'm surprised no one else was in, well, it's dark, so not anybody was really in the park. So then he sped off, we waited in that tunnel for a while. Then we got out of it, and then we were walking again. Not a tunnel, a bridge. But a tunnel did get into this. So while we waited under the bridge for like a few minutes, and I remind you guys, it was so cold. Our feet were numb. At least I can speak for myself. I'm assuming theirs were too, because I was hurting. My feet were so cold, and the grass was so wet and cold because it was night, and maybe the sprinklers went on prior to when we went to the park. But all the grass was wet, so our feet were cold, muddy, wet, everything. Then, so then we got out of under the bridge, and we were running, and we heard that car again. He was going through like circles around the whole park. So we heard the car speeding really fast, honking, and we found this tunnel. And I kid you not, it was a legit tunnel. It was slimy. There's a little bit of water. Like, a very little bit. It wasn't like, it didn't cover our feet. It was just like maybe not even halfway of our feet, but it was slippery and slimy. I don't know what was in that tunnel, but we all ran in that tunnel. And it was so freaking cold. That water in that tunnel, even though there was a little bit of water in there, felt like needles. That cold. Needles. Like pins just poking at your feet because it was so cold. So we were under there for a good while. At this point, our back and our butts were wet because it wasn't a big tunnel where you could stand. You had to like duck and go under. And we were there for, I felt like forever. It felt like forever. It really did. But we were there for a while. Then after a while, we didn't hear any car whatsoever. So then we figured he either went back to the house to check to see if we were there or whatnot. So then we got to a point where this park, it wasn't a huge park like Central Park, but it was a very long park. And my stepmom's parents were on the other side of that park. So we were coming from the way other side. So we were really close now. We were really close to her parents' house. Of course, the gate was locked. So what that meant was one of us had to jump the gate. It was like wrapped around, chained. So her son jumped the gate, and he was older than us. So he jumped the gate and he ran, and that gate led down the street from her parents' house, because they lived in this residential area. But there was a gate that you can cut through the park. It's really nice. So he goes to get his grandpa, or her dad, and he was a cop. So her dad was a cop. I guess he got in the car with him. They drove around and they got to the park, and he picked us up. And I remember that night like the back of my hand. Like, I could see so clearly. At that point, we were all there. She calls my mom. My mom is pissed. My mother was so pissed. And mind you, my mom lived far away from them. Like, it was a good drive. So she drove over there, and she was just pissed. She said, "Give me my kids." And I think, I don't remember if she was mad at her or if she was just more concerned for her. Like, I don't know. I remember us being in the car, and then I don't know if she was like trying to calm her down and be like, "This is what I'm telling you. This is how he is to all the women. This is why I left him. This blah, 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 blah." And then we got home, and then that was when she said, "You will never go to your dad's again." So there's things like that. I mean, I know that's a long story, but that's one story that really sticks out. There was another lady, girlfriend, wife, ex, I don't know what the hell she was, honestly. This is years later, like we were all bigger. And we spent the night at his house because he said he changed. He got married and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But then what happens? The first 2 days are great, but the next day we hear pounding, banging, and this girl, I have to give her kudos because she was like a fighter. Like, she was straight up like gangsta. Like, he lived a gangster lifestyle. He wasn't a gangster, but his lifestyle wasn't great. But my God, she fought him. They were both fighting, and she gave him a black eye, and she was fighting back. Unlike the other women we seen that were getting hit, she was fighting back, and she was drop kicking and all this stuff. We seen it. We seen his black eye, his bloody mouth, but he was hitting her. So stuff like that, you know, I can never, and I never will, forgive him. Every holiday I go through this shit. Every holiday, when the holidays come around, I always go through this. Like, do I really want to make amends with him? Do I really want to even try to find him? Like, I know he was deported, but I'll get to that in a second. But do I really want to feel for this man? And the fact that he gets older, I'm assuming he gets older. I mean, I haven't talked to him in so many years, like more than 10 years. Yeah, more than that. But I hate him. And I'm going to say I hate him, and you guys might comment down below being like, you can't hate him. You can't hate your father. He's still your father. Don't. If you guys are going to write that on the comments, do not even bother. I don't mean to be blunt, but this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I'm ranting. And if you do comment something like that, I'm just saying ignore that comment. Because I've been told so many times by people, oh, it's your dad though, you know, you're going to say things, you're going to feel this way, but it's your dad. You got to love him. No, I don't. I don't have to love him whatsoever. I don't even have to like him, and I never will. But this year, 2017, my whole thinking again every year when it comes around the Christmas time, holiday times, am I going to forgive my father? No. So I will never forgive him. Never, ever, 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 ever forgive him. I can't stand him. I just can't stand him. And so, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I was cleaning out the closet, and for some reason, I don't know why I had this. I don't know who gave it to me. I forgot. Either I stole it or someone gave this to me. But this was a piece of newspaper. Okay. This was Thursday, May 31st, 2007 from the Sacramento Bee. And right here, I will read to you what it says. My dad is also named Martin. I'm named after my dad, unfortunately. But this is what this says. Newspaper, Sacramento Bee, May 31st, 2007. Nedra Court, northwest of Meadowview Road and 24th Street. Arrest. Martin Padilla, 38, of the 79 block of Samantha Way, southwest of Power Inn and Florin Roads, was arrested at 4:35 p.m. May 22nd on suspicion of vehicle theft and possessing stolen property and possessing narcotic paraphernalia. Simple. In this little paragraph, that's my dad. And how sad is that to say? I'm not sure. I'm not going to be 100%, so I'm not going to say it's 100%. But I believe, and I want to think that was the last arrest that he was arrested in California. And he was deported to Mexico. And I didn't know he was from Mexico. Okay? I didn't even know he was... Like, he was born in Mexico, in Guadalajara. He was born there, but he was still a baby when they came over here. Alright, so... He wasn't familiar. Unless he went to go visit throughout his years of being alive. He's still alive, I think. I don't know, but... He must have went to visit family with my grandma and grandpa over there once in a while. But yeah, so he was born there, but he was still a baby when he was here. But he's been arrested so many times that they were just like, you know what? Third strike, you're out. You're out of here. So they said either you be in prison for life, basically, or be a free man in Mexico, over there. And he chose over there. This really pissed me off. Not because... I mean, if you were him, like, okay, would I want to be in prison forever, or do I want to be a free man? But it pissed me off that he got to that point. Because my grandma loved him. She claims she didn't have favorites, but he was her favorite child. And when he was arrested all the time, it hurt her. When he was deported, it hurt her really bad. And she passed away. You know what sucks the most? Is I still haven't even went to my grandma's... I still have not went to my grandma's gravesite. On my dad's side. I loved my mama. When we were little, we were supposed to, we called my grandma, we called my grandma and grandpa mama and papa. Okay. But I didn't go to her funeral. When she went to the hospital, she was sick, and I did go to her hospital one time, but the last time she had to go to the hospital for being sick, I thought she was just because she just, you know, wasn't doing good. And the first time I went, is people were saying she wasn't gonna make it, and so I went and I said my goodbyes basically. But then she ended up making everything, and she was alive and well for a good 5 more years. And then this happened, and then I didn't go. I didn't go to see her in the hospital. She was asking for me, and because my dad was her favorite child, me, Vincent, and Adam were her favorite grandkids. And that is horrible to say. And you know, that's probably why half the family, that's probably why most of the family don't even like us. They don't, on his side, my dad's side of the family, they don't like me, Vincent, Adam, or my mom. They always thought my mom was this horrible person and that she cheated on him and this and that. My dad was perfect in their eyes. But little do they know, they didn't live with us. They didn't see the shit that happened. But the fact is, I didn't get to go see my grandma, and it kills me every day. Knowing that she was asking for us, and I didn't even go. And then she passed away. And then she passed away, and she didn't even get to see us for the last time. And even before that, we didn't see her for a long time. And we could have went. I mean, I could have found a way to go visit her. They were not far from us. So I have to live with that for the rest of my life. I don't even know. I feel like I can't even go to her, see her grave. I can't even go. I can't get myself to go because I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I won't go. I won't go until I'm comfortable enough to, or until I stop beating myself up. But I just can't go see her yet. I haven't even talked to my grandpa, and he's still alive. I'm embarrassed. I feel like I've betrayed. Even though that family didn't like us, my grandma and grandpa loved us, and my grandpa loves me. But the fact is, I'm embarrassed to show my face around there. I don't talk to my cousins. I don't do any of that because I'm embarrassed. I'm hurt. You know, so there's that. And so I think about that all the time. And I mentioned in my, someone asked about my mom, like where is she, and why she hasn't been in the videos, and why we haven't made a video, and they don't see us. Well, I'm not getting into that. And I'm respecting her. But let's just say things were said and things were done, and we're just not talking anymore. Do I miss my mother? Of course. She's my mom. But I don't know what to say. Like I said, I'm not getting into it, but things were said and things were done. And we probably both felt betrayed. I'm just not ready to talk to anybody. I cut everybody out of my life right now. Everybody. I mean everybody. I've cut my brothers out. I've cut my mom out. I've cut my grandma out. I've cut everybody. Because I feel like what's the point? What is the point of keeping people around if there's always drama surrounded every time? Like, I'm tired of hearing drama. And they probably do too. But I just figured, for myself, if I got rid of people and just stopped talking to everybody, then I wouldn't have that kind of drama in my life. And lately, there hasn't been drama. Not saying it's all their fault, but at the same time, I don't have to deal with it. I don't know. But as for my dad, I will never, ever forgive him. I really hope he finds this video. I hope there's a way, I hope there's a will that he might come across this. But Martin, I don't consider you a dad. I don't consider you family. I don't consider you a friend. And I do not consider you a stranger. You are dead to me.